Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're at the golf course. Tyler decided that he wanted to play 9 holes, so I just came to tag along. My golfing days are pretty much over. But so I thought while we were out here that I would talk to you guys about my experience with haunted houses. So, you know, Halloween is probably mine and Tyler's favorite holiday. Christmas Christmas is a close second, but we love Halloween. Up until a couple years ago, I was absolutely terrified to go to haunted houses. I had been to a couple when I was a kid, like middle school age, and got absolutely just scared out of my pants. I'm not very good with like really scary movies, so they just kind of weren't my thing. But Tyler and I started going, and I kind of learned the types of haunted houses that I do enjoy as somebody who's easily scared. So I thought I would, you know, share the story for those of you that want to like haunted houses but are just a little bit afraid of them. Alright guys, so story time about first haunted house experience that I ever had. I think I was in the 5th, maybe 6th grade. I had a friend whose birthday was in October. So instead of having the traditional birthday party, he decided to have a bunch of friends over, and his parents took us all to a haunted house. Well, a haunted hayride that had a haunted house at the end. So this haunted hayride was in the absolute middle of nowhere. Okay, I grew up in a really small town, still live here, really small town, not a lot of people, and we drove to an even smaller town. Sorry about the wind. But yeah, so we drive out in the middle of nowhere to this haunted house, or this hayride. Okay, we wait forever in line to get on it, and you know, they pack all these people in on these hay bales, and your back is facing out, like you're facing the center of it. And so there was like outside row, center row, outside row. So I was unfortunate enough to get stuck on the outside row next to some of my friends. So while we were on the hayride, you know, people would come out of the woods and like climb up on the side of it with like chainsaws and scare the crap out of you. I was so terrified at one point I like fell down between the hay bales and was like crying. And all my friends thought it was hilarious, that I was scared and all this stuff. So yeah, that was my first experience with haunted houses. So I didn't enjoy them from the start. So what I finally realized from that terrible haunted house experience that I had as a kid is that what I was really afraid of was the fact that it feels like those kinds of haunted houses aren't very safe. And what I mean by that is, like, you know, you're in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere, on somebody's property, and how do I know that one of those high school kids in a mask isn't really, you know, some deranged person that lives a couple miles from there that has decided to, you know, come kill somebody, that has decided to go on this haunted house tour. I realize that probably sounds completely irrational, but when you're just like alone in the middle of the woods and people are jumping out of the woods, it scared me. You know, it didn't feel safe. It wasn't that I didn't enjoy being scared. It was that I didn't feel safe in this environment. So if you've ever experienced a, you know, what I consider like a backwoods haunted house or haunted hayride like this, and felt that same kind of thing, give this video a like. But so when Tyler and I first started dating, he and his 2 older brothers are huge Halloween fans and huge haunted house fans. And so, you know, when we first got together and it came time for haunted houses and Halloween activities, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this. This is not going to be something that I enjoy. But I didn't want to be like the only girlfriend or wife to not go and, you know, ruin the experience for Tyler. So I, you know, put on my big girl panties and decided I'd go. So the first, what I consider real haunted house that we went to, is Nashville Nightmare. And so, you know, instead of being in the middle of the woods in someplace like terrifying, it's like at the end of a strip mall, like in the middle of Nashville. So it was much less intimidating from the get-go. So you get there and the entire place is surrounded by like a chain link fence. So, you know, the only people that are in there are the ones that have gone through metal detectors and have been deemed to be safe to go in. So that made me feel better, first of all. So like I said, surrounded by chain link fence, you had to go through security to get in. So that made me feel a lot better about the whole, you know, the experience starting off. And then when you get inside, there are police officers and personal security guards that are like monitoring the entire event. So, you know, if at any point you didn't feel safe, there were people that you could go to get help. And then the third thing that I really like is that events like Nashville Nightmare, instead of hiring high schoolers, it's actors that have been vetted and background checked, and you know, it's not just like a little side gig for them. This is what they want to do for a career. You know, they want to act, they're professionals, and they take it seriously. You know, we get to this haunted house. I see that there are all these safety precautions that there aren't at a typical haunted house, which makes me feel a little bit better. But at this point, I had been traumatized by haunted houses to the point that I didn't want to go, even though I felt safer because of the precautions that they had taken. So, you know, if you've ever been to a haunted house like this, you know that they have extra actors that hang out like in the lines and stuff, and, you know, like try to scare the crap out of people while they're waiting. And I remember, so at Nashville Nightmare, there are usually like 4 different houses, and so we were waiting in line for the first one, and one of these actors was coming around to scare people, and I had picked up that, you know, these people, they kind of single out the people that seem more scared and really try to terrify them. I don't know why they do that, because it's not fun being somebody who's had this done to them. But anyway, so I was like almost in tears. I was so scared because I didn't want that guy to come scare me, but I was trying so hard to hide it because I knew that if he saw how terrified I was, he'd probably come harass me, and I really didn't want that. So, you know, I was still scared, and it hadn't really hit me that this was going to be a better experience yet. But so we get into the first haunted house, and the thing that I always kind of hated about these backwoods haunted houses is that the high schoolers that they hire, they'll like come up and grab you and like actually put their hands on you. Sometimes they'll even like try to pick you up off a haunted hayride. I'd never had that happen to me, but I had seen it happen to other people. So, you know, I didn't like that kind of physical aspect of it. And so that's kind of what I was expecting in this haunted house. But at places like Nashville Nightmare that hire professional actors, they don't touch you. You know, they've got a job to do. They're in their spot, and, you know, a group comes through, they do their scare, they come out, they scream, whatever they're supposed to do, but then they have to get back in their spot for the next group, and they typically don't sit there and harass somebody that has, you know, jumped at their scare or screamed or something like that. So, you know, we get through the first house and I was absolutely terrified, but we came out the other side and I was like, that wasn't so bad. Like, that was almost fun. And then, you know, we go into the next one, and it was like kind of the same experience. Like, the houses have these really, really awesome immersive themes that, you know, it's almost like it transports you to another world. And yeah, I still jumped at all the jump scares because I'm one of the jumpiest people ever, but I wasn't afraid for my safety during any of this. And so this was kind of the first experience I had of like, okay, haunted houses don't have to be all bad. And so by the end of that night, I think the very last house that we went through was like a fairy tale kind of theme, you know, and they had a bunch of really cool theming. They had like a pirate part and just some really cool stuff, and I absolutely loved that last house because I thought the theming was really cool. I thought all the characters were really neat. You know, they have some animatronics that are just really great, and I just enjoyed it and I had a good time. And so it took me some reflecting to kind of figure out what I enjoyed from this type of haunted house versus, you know, the kind of small town backwoods haunted houses. And you know, if you enjoy those kind of haunted hayrides, you know, good for you, that's great. I'm not saying don't support them. I'm just saying they're not for me. And if you have found that they're not for you, maybe try a different kind of haunted house and see if there is one that you enjoy. Alright guys, so it started to get really windy on the golf course, so I figured we would just finish up now that we're done. So Tyler played with some of his friends and had a good time. It was nice to get out of the house. But I hope that some of you enjoyed my story about haunted houses, and I hope that my story maybe resonated with some of you that have had bad experiences with haunted houses, and maybe convinced you that you can try a different kind of haunted house and it, you know, it won't be as terrifying or make you feel unsafe like previous ones have. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this video and you know, if it kind of gave you a different perspective on, you know, haunted houses and the fact that there are different kinds of haunted houses, go ahead and give us a like, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. But thanks for watching.